G'day everyone, Alex McKellar here again from COTA. Surprisingly enough, did another race here, this fourth of the week. This one though is really special. This one's the Japanese community strength of field race called the Skipjack. Happens on a Saturday night my time at about, it's 11 o'clock up until this morning where daylight saving change will be 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Time. Now, from next week. Now, this was an awesome experience. Stayed up late. 11 o'clock race for me is pretty late, if I'm honest. But it was just under a 4.1k strength of field. Japanese community get right behind Hideyuki Shorter, who's there, as you see on the grid, in 5th position. He's one of the key organisers of this, but you get some of the great drivers. You can see I've qualified 3rd behind Naoya Nagai and Takumi Yamato. Two of the really strong Japanese drivers going around. In fact, Nagai's right up there with the best in the world at the moment. One thing I really want to point out is the guy has it nailed in quality. His one-lap pace is unbelievable. I was impressed to be within half a second, to be honest, or just over half a second. Yamato's not far behind him, really. He's tucked it on pole in SNL. In the round 1 this week when Nagai wasn't there, and then Nagai was back last week and straight on a pole at Barber. So, but even then you can see 4/10 difference between Nagai and Yamato. A lot of the big drivers in the world are playing catch up with Nagai's quality pace. Excuse me. Great to see Vasco. I worded him up before the race. I said, come on mate, let's go do this Japanese race. He won this one last week actually. Then Hideyuki Shorter, of course, he's got some good pace and he organises the skipjack. Wildcard in the field in the start there was Patrick in P6. Hadn't raced with Patrick before, but from what I've seen this week, he's got some good pace, despite being 1.2 seconds off Nagai, but there's no shame in that. Race with Ortsu in P7 earlier today, or yesterday it was, and enjoyed that. Had a close battle with him. As you can see, it's full of Japanese drivers, just looking at the names there. I might even flick over to the other page if I can find the right button. There you go. Yeah, 14 drivers. Really bad participation this week, but 4.1k soft. Yeah, look, I don't get to run in these very often. Typically the big softs I'm broadcasting on a Sunday night, so it was a great pleasure. Anyway, I've probably prattled on enough for now. Let's dive into the race and get on with it. But yeah, I was really looking forward to this one. A bit nervous because, like I said, I don't get to run the big races too often. And yeah, I've got a tendency to do really badly in them. So, but realistically, as we start to think about getting underway, my goal in this one was to try and stick with the great Nagai-san, work on my racing to the point where the guy's got so much pace that anything I can do to get in there and measure myself as any person doing any competitive sport wants to against someone of that level was a fantastic opportunity. I was looking to make the most of it. Anyway, let's get underway and see how far we get in this 10-lap race. We head up to turn 1, lap 1, take the inside line, show the nose under Yamato, knowing full well that I'm probably going to lose the run through turn 2, as I learnt in the week that the race that I put up early this week. It's not uncommon. Now, some of the things going through my mind early on, honestly, I only really had eyes forward. I forgot that Vasco was right behind me, even at this point in the race, because I'm so intense on hanging onto the back of that blue car up ahead. I've almost, almost can't even see Yamato in front of me because strategically in this one, you've got to be right on your game, because if we lose draft with Nagai, he is dead set gone. He showed it in what was pretty much a 5k soft last week at Barber. If you give him any sort of air gap, he can just lap after lap just drive away from you. And that's what he did. He ended up winning the SNL race last week by, I don't know, 5 seconds or something against some of the best in the world. So I went to make a move here early. I had two things playing on my mind. I wanted to get as close to that blue car as I could. Plus, any sort of battling here could really compromise and cost us, and he might be away. But I figured cold tyres, there's a balancing act there. Thank you to Yamato-san who facilitated that. I did have the run, I thought, so it was okay. But I think we both know if we let him get too far ahead, he's gone. So there's a bit of risk both ways there. I want to get as close as I can, and sort of leave it in my own hands whether or not I can keep up with him. But make no mistakes, I need his draft to keep up. As you saw in quali, he's won that pace. He's just, miles ahead of everyone in this field. Might only be 4 to 5 tenths. That's miles, honestly, even in a 2.5 minute lap. Didn't quite get that one right. Went a bit deep. Switched down to first gear to compensate for that and the cold tyres. So we've got our first objective, which was to try and get past Yamato-san and get close as we could to Nagai-san. Now he had a bit of a whoopsie there. What I noticed throughout this race was he braked a little bit differently to me at turn 1. Probably slowed down the entry more than I was doing. With a view, I assume, to maximising exit speed, although I found that, other than sort of adjusting my braking, I don't know if it served him any benefit. I found this little section here was where I sort of was a point of difference for me. I said in the last video, really enjoyed that section, and that was the one spot on the track that I was able to sort of differentiate myself, maybe catch Nagai a little bit, maybe put a gap between myself and Yamato. Conversely, Takumi-san, Yamato-san behind me, was really good at that entry into that corner. We just went through there, the left-hander onto the back of the straight, the big back straight, I should say. Now Vasco's still in touch. Patrick Schroederus, Patrick there in 5th, he was as well. I think Vasco, you can see in the mirrors, he's on the left. I've decided I'm going to have a look through Nagai as well. I'm going to go on the inside. Now my strategy here was, he can't drive away from me. Oh, look at the background. This was the moment. You might have just caught it in the mirrors. Vasco popped the engine and was gone. I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted that he was gone. I was looking forward to racing with Vasco. I talked him into racing, and then he has that. Oh, I was gutted. Anyway, my strategy was, the guy can't drive away from me if he's behind me. So sometimes, the best way to sort of keep up with someone that you know is faster than you is to maybe disrupt their plan a little bit as well. And so, we might be setting slower lap times overall. It might keep a couple of other drivers in the race longer, potentially, than if I just let Nagai sit there in front and drag us away. But it was a risk mitigation strategy, right? Because if we go side by side through here again, and I just seeded the corner this time, I didn't sort of look to defend it. I was more worried about Yamato behind me, to be honest. But you can see I lift and falling behind there. I'm trying not to attack so much here and slow us down significantly, as I am just trying to disrupt Nagai-san, not let him get too settled too quickly, because honestly, any small mistake and he's gone. The other thing I'm bearing in mind now is, whilst I've lost my comrade in arms, Swarovski, there's still 2 other drivers behind me in this pack, in Yamato and Patrick there, and now in P4. And primary goal here, if we talk about strategy, is to hang on and disrupt, if I can, the race of Nagai a little bit. Secondary goal is to stay right on his tail and hold off the guys behind, because That conversation between the four of us that's going on at the moment is between four people, and that changes the dynamic of the pack quite a bit. So again, go to move on the inside here. Got a nice clean run. You can see the draft worked really, really well, but if you were to look to the side at the moment, you'd still see Nagai. You know, it's even on that big back straight, the way the draft works now and the skips, Nagai's still right there. This track, despite that really long straight and some of the other characteristics of it, make it quite difficult to pass here. If someone wants to defend, they can, if they do it smart. So the guy indifference there just didn't make it too difficult for me, with a view that, you know, we've just about broken the draft to P5, and so we're starting to thin out the herd, because that's one of the secondary goals here, is to thin out the herd a bit. At the moment we're down to 4. If we can get it down to 3, and ultimately if I can get it down to 2, if I can be battling the great Nagai Sun on my own, that'd be awesome. So we've now led 2 laps, which is pretty cool. And but ultimately though, you really only need to lead one, right? That last one, and that's the overarching goal of the race. See if we can't win it. Although coming into it with a 4K soft, I was I was surprised actually. I managed to do okay in the all important quali. I think if you're going to win or be a shot at any of these anyway, you've really got to nail quali, because you know, in a soft like this, there's enough drivers that can either. I mean, I'm doing it myself. I'm hanging with Nagai, who's easy half a second quicker than me around here. Right, so if you're buried 6 deep and you've got to move forward a couple of places even just to get involved in this conversation up front, chances are those people can disrupt your race even if you're half a second quicker as well. So making quali super important in the big races. Probably goes without saying, but that's what's in my head anyway. So up the back straight we go again on lap 4. Fully expecting Nagai Sun to go up the inside here. In all honesty, I wasn't going to disrupt him, but I was also keeping a close eye on what's behind me and what Yamato was doing, because we're still trying to get flag to flag in the fastest way possible, right? And if we're doing that, we're also, like I said, we're trying to thin out the herd a bit. And we're just starting to drop that second pack led by Shorter, just ahead of Otsu. This final sector's pretty fun, triple right-hander. You see I'm 4/10 behind. I'm really on the edge of that zone where I think I start to get a little worried actually. If it's 5, even 6/10, and I'm behind someone like Nagai, I'm quite concerned. I need to get a bit of urgency on, be mindful of over driving. At 4/10, I'm just on that danger zone. Now it's out to 5. I'm sitting here going, oh jeepers, not only am I worried about losing Nagai, but I'm worried that Yamato is going to want to get a wriggle on as well, potentially have a look. But he's not close enough, and I got about a 10th up that's in the draft up the front straight, which was good. But what's not good is that I'm not close enough to start putting the pressure on, and as the tyres warm up I feel like I get better, but it's clear that Nagai does as well, although he's absolutely stellar on cold tyres. It's interesting, you know, we talk about how he must warm the tyres and everything to be so good in quality. He must have some secret sauce or something in there, but honestly, this track, you can't spend more than 5-10 seconds tops warming your tyres, so it's a pretty level playing field because of the length of the track and the time the skips take to navigate it. So, you know, again, I just back it down to the guy's got great one-lap pace and cold tyres. You can see we're fairway back half a second, and I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to get worried. I'm sure Yamato is behind me as well. Speaking of which, I start to think about Yamato and I can see him looming, and I think, well, I don't want to give up P2. I just don't. So I move to the left. I see him going. Like I moved early. I thought I might have a look at that after the race, because that was one of the things I was worried about. I left him a lane on the outside though. So I moved to the left to cover the inside. And then when he sort of stopped that, you know, I'm worried about making a second move. So I left him a clear lane on the outside so that he could go and brake on the outside if he wanted to, but I was not giving up the inside. But I'll have a look at that after the race. Lap 5, remember that. And I was also worried about the time that little jiggery pokery might have cost us, because you can see I'm 6/10 behind the guy here, and I'm not full-blown panic stations just yet, but I switched my focused hat on, switched to my focused face, and put my focused hat on, because I needed, and you can see, look how much I took on that apex. Really important. Second gear through there, carry a lot of mid-corner speed, and kiss that apex. You saw my front left was on the inside of the apex curving there. That's one of the very few ones on this circuit that won't kill you, and we picked up a 10.5 in the draft up the front straight. So those things combined with the draft, very helpful. And net gain of 2/10 through the front straight and turn 1. Go through this tremendously awkward set of corners. There's history to how this track was designed. Apparently the designers wanted to combine some of the best elements of the best tracks around the world, but I don't know. I read an article on that once, and I tend to agree with the author that in doing so, they kind of didn't capture the soul or the experience of any of them, and sort of left the track itself without potentially a soul of its own. And for me, it tends to breed the kind of racing we see here, where the corners are just awkward, you know. I'm reluctant to say a bit of a Frankenstein, but yeah, it is what it is. So what I'm doing here is, you can see I've got a decent break over Takumi behind me, Yamato-san. And at this point, I'm thinking, can I thin the herd? Can I thin the herd? You know, it's only 5/6, but I want to minimise the draft that he's got, and with also at the same time minimising any disruption I have on the guy son. So as long as I'm in draft enough with him, and I'm not giving draft as much to Yamato, I'm sort of trying to increase my chances of maybe thinning it down to 2. All that on the back of the runner, that twisty section that inspired my conversation about the track and how it was made, or how it was designed. So we're 2/10 closer this lap than we were at this point in the lap than we were last lap, which is great. And all the back of it was actually, realistically, all through this final sector, because that's where we picked up the 2/10 through this corner and turn 1 last lap, and we just managed to hang on to it for the rest of the lap. Not quite as good a run through there, through that final corner as last lap, but it was good enough. As I said, with 3/10, I'm more comfortable at 3/10, and at 6/10 behind again. I'm just trying to disrupt the draft a little bit. I think Takumi followed me that time. My braking's quite awkward through there. I just haven't quite got it sussed behind Nagai-san. As we go through the S's once again. And again, I thought this spot coming up, this next sort of series of 3 corners here, was where I was okay in respect to others. See, I get a bit close to that apex, wasn't my best effort. But then I take a tighter line through here, probably take a little bit more on the inside there. And this time, honestly, I didn't go so well, but that was the section of the track that I was really focused on to set up, honestly, the overtaking at the back of this next straight. Because at 5/10 behind, 5.5 or so through that corner, I'm not an overtaking chance at the end of the back straight. But if I can nail that twisty section on the lead in to the braking zone before this straight and be within 2 or 3 tenths, that's where you got a shot. So I was really focused as far back as that to set up this corner, the overtake at this corner. And again, I sort of, that time Yamato was closer to me on the back straight, but I was just deterring him from having a look on the inside and breaking the draft a little bit, but also making sure that I was visible in Nagai's mirrors, so he hadn't forgotten I was there. But also, you can see my tighter line there. You can see the great rotation that Nagai gets through that corner. Not sure, like it's more of a classic line, I think, but I'm not sure that. I find the tighter line works better for me. But like I said, I was trying to keep in Nagai's mirrors to some extent, just to remind him that I'm there. But I was also, without wanting to disrupt his speed there, again trying to thin the herd. And you can see we have done exactly that. Over the last 2 laps we've dropped Patrick there in P4, so it's now down to a battle of 3. Every person we manage to drop off the back is a little less complexity in that conversation that we're having out the front. So for my part, again, move to the inside as much to be visible for Nagai. Not that he's forgotten that I'm there, but just maybe distract him a little bit. But also to discourage Yamato from the overtake. So we're on lap 8 now, 3 to go. And you can see the overtakes are thin on the ground at this place. It's such a big circuit for the skips, but very few passing opportunities. Realistically, it's the end of the back straight. I've seen some people attack in the braking zone leading to the left-hander onto the back straight. The last corner is an opportunity if you get that sector right, and the first corner. But realistically, like I said, I've seen people have an attack here, which I think is a bit of a folly, if I'm honest, because you've got this massive back straight into the primary passing opportunity, and you waste it if you attack there. That's my view. Not everyone shares it. But the 2 best opportunities are at the end of this straight and at turn 1, which in such a long lap requires a lot of patience in my view. So you can see I've just moved a little bit to the left, but just to discourage Yamato more than anything. But I think he was kind of happy to sit and build the gap between us and Patrick and P4 at this point. We've got 2 laps to go, and my thinking at this point is I've got to try and set up to get in front of Nagai in one of those primary passing opportunities at turn 1 or at the end of the back straight. They're my focus for the next couple of laps, because I want to get in front of him. Now, of course, he knows that. He's an experienced racer, lightning fast, and he's raced with some of the best drivers in the world in the skip, so he knows. And some of those guys that he races with on a Sunday night, for example, they're pretty hard racers. So he's seen a lot. So he knows what this point in the race means. Oh, as I stuff that up, you see how much I missed that apex by? But we're a lot more comfortable in the draft here. Alright, so there's no, you see I show the nose there again, but there's no move there. So that's one chance gone. So now we're focused on, as I said, that run into through the twisty sections, into the braking zone at turn, I think it's turn 11 there, onto the back straight. We want to be nice and close to take advantage of the next opportunity. So it's really from this point, and I haven't got it right because I don't want third gear quite so early there. Nice early turn in, grab that apex, close up a little bit through here. I take a tighter line, try and get on the gas super early, but you can see just on the delta there that I probably lost half a tenth there, so I'm not close enough. I've got my eyes on Takumi Yamato behind me, Yamato-san, who is absolutely no slouch. But again, not close enough. But at the same time, neither is Yamato-san behind me. So I stick in the draft here. What's Nagai got for us? He knows I'm coming. He knows it's getting towards the end of the race. It's the second to last lap, and he moves over. There you go. He knows. But he leaves me the braking on the outside, importantly. And Yamato doesn't have a look, though, interestingly. First time we've seen Nagai take a defensive line all night, and it's the right time. Smart racing. Don't push the point till you need to. It's the fastest way around. You can see Patrick in P4, without the benefit of the draft, he's now getting gobbled up by the pack behind him too. Shorters are all over him. Ortu in there as well. And probably COTA in P7, wanted to get a piece of it as well. But for mine, again, I'm thinking, all right, turn one's my next opportunity. How close are we? 2/10, good. Get a reasonable apex there at the penultimate corner. Coming down to the last corner. Nice early braking, focus on the exit. A little bit more apex there to be had, but we are 2.5 tenths on the exit as the white flag comes out. And immediately Nagai takes the defensive line. I'll try to get a little bit of side draft if I can. I'm thinking, oh, can I do Chris Herrera's trick and go around the outside? Answer is no. Perhaps I need to drive a pink car, I don't know, but I couldn't get it done. I was worried about Yamato, and I'm thinking, oh no, have I just blown my chance at the last passing opportunity, the last main one at the end of the back straight. I've got to really focus now to get close. I've got to get close to Nagai-san into the braking zone at turn 11. Got to get close to have any sort of a chance. And I lose 1/10.5 through there. I've got to nail this section. He goes fairly deep through that left, which allows me to close up through the right, get on the gas early, come underneath. Now we're 3/10. Will we get enough of a draft to get a little bit closer? Not really. 3/10 in the braking zone. I decided to brake a little bit deeper than usual. Try and close up a little bit. And we're 3.5 tenths on exit of that corner. It's a long way back. Nagai immediately moves to the left, says, I want the inside line. So I've resigned myself to going to the outside, and immediately my thoughts shift to, okay, I can brake a little bit later. I've got 2 car widths wider apex, so I can brake a bit later. Move over to the right, spot the mark around the 100. Brake a little bit later. I actually missed my downshift, and I stuffed it badly. I thought at least... But I couldn't believe it. I thought I thought Nagai was going to have me for sure. Leaving the outside, I got the inside through there, and I was worried next is the inside here, but I was clear. So I moved over to the left, took my natural tighter line that I like to take. Now the apex, and I'm in front. Now I've just got to worry about the final corner. Depending on the run Nagai gets, Yamato helps me out and shows a nose up the inside. Probably puts Nagai off his line a bit, which really helps me. This I've got to nail. I absolutely have to nail. Big early turn in. Not as much apex as I could. Nagai's all over the back of me. Is he going to look up the inside? No, he's not close enough. Nail the apex in second gear. All the track on exit, and your beauty. We got it. We got it. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely stoked. Could not believe it. Super fun, and yeah, I was really pleased. That's in all honesty, that's the biggest strength of field I've had a win in, and to do it in the good company that we were in was amazing. Just amazing. Now I want to go back to lap. Well, I'm going to make that a bit bigger for a second. I want to look at 2 things. Lap 5 on the back straight. So I'll go to lap 6 and I'll go back because it's on the back straight. That defense against Yamato. So, excuse me. Let's go far chase. So this was the one that I was talking about in the race where I moved to the left when I saw it. So you can see Yamato's coming. I actually moved before he did. You can see. Yeah, I've moved and then he's moved, which is fine. I've moved to the left. I've maintained my line. He's given up. You can see he's given up at that point. I've shifted a little bit back to the right, but I've left him 2 car widths on the right there. So my intent there was cover left. You can see I moved before he did, which, okay, I'm good. I've seen that now. And then as I've come back, I've left him the outside lane. That was my intent there. Look, it's strong defence, arguable. I don't know. I was worried about making 2 moves there, but if I look at that on reflection, I go early, right? And then as he backs out, I'll still leave him the lane on the outside. So I'm probably okay with that. Now, the other one is, of course, how did we go on that last lap? How did we get past Nagai? Because like I said, the stuff that was going through my head when Nagai moved early, it opens up the outside for me. And I'm thinking the over-under doesn't work here in my view. So I can brake a little bit later. So my typical braking mark is just before the 100. I can brake a little bit later and he will have a compromised entry. I felt like I outbraked myself. I missed my downshift, which annoyed me. And have I left the room on the inside? Heaps of room on the inside. Excuse me, I've run too deep. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought. Look, I took the 1X for sure. And I felt like I outbraked myself. I was just stunned that he didn't get a better run. And I'm wondering why that was. If we come through here, he's outbraked himself a little bit too. You can see he's missed the apex by a bit. But look at the compromise on exit. You can see Yamato taking the more traditional line there. And somehow I got better drive out of that corner. I can only think he was more compromised than I was. And then that was all she wrote. You can see behind there Yamato and Nagai thinking about going the inside. That's the tightest he's taken that all race. That line through that left-hander. Yeah, good one. And then Yamato shows the nose through that final sector. That sends Nagai a little bit off his line. Just a fraction through the mid stages of that triple right-hander, sorry. He gets a better run through there, but not good enough. He's nowhere near where he needs to be to have a look. And I get a better drive out of there, you beauty. Beautiful. So for me, like I said, that was actually my best ever result in an official race. 227 points I think I got for that. And close, between 50 and 60 I rating. Unbelievable for me. And I was super stoked. Super stoked. So let's quickly take a look at the results. Are they going to come up? Yes, they are. Mikela gets it done over Nagai. Thank you, Nagai-san. Nagai Sensei. He's one of the greats. Great racing with Nagai and Yamato. Thanks again to Hiroyuki Shorter for putting it on. Really enjoyed it. I was so pumped. Honestly, so pumped. And I had full focus the whole race, so it took me a while to get to sleep last night, if I'm honest. So, and that's it's one of the reasons why we race, right? To get that sort of feeling. So, anyway, folks, thanks for sticking with it to the end. If you've made it this far, don't forget tonight, or when you're watching this, whenever it is, we have the Sunday Night Lights back on. We're back on normal time now, GMT plus 10, which means. The biggest race of the Skippy week. This was a 4K off. I'm crossing my fingers that we get a 5K off again this week. And some of the best in the world go around. Check it out on Top Split TV on Twitch is where you'll find us on a Sunday at 9:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time now, which is great. All right, folks, thanks for sticking with us. I'm Alex McKellar, and until next time, ciao for now.